What if I told you that there's a single mineral, one mineral, that your body requires for over 300 different enzymatic reactions, that it's essential for producing every molecule of energy your cells generate, that without it, your DNA repair enzymes can't function, your muscles can't relax, your nerves can't transmit signals properly, and your heart can't maintain a steady rhythm, and that roughly 3 out of every 4 Americans aren't getting enough of it, you'd probably assume I was talking about some rare trace element that's difficult to find and expensive to supplement. But I'm not. The mineral is magnesium, the fourth most abundant mineral in the human body, one of the cheapest supplements on the shelf, and arguably the single most underappreciated nutrient in all of modern medicine. And what makes this deficiency so dangerous isn't just how widespread it is. It's how invisible it is. Magnesium deficiency rarely shows up on standard blood tests because only about 1% of your body's total magnesium circulates in the bloodstream, with the other 99% stored inside your cells, bones, and muscles. So a doctor can draw your blood, run a comprehensive metabolic panel, see a magnesium level that falls within the normal reference range, tell you everything looks fine, and you can still be profoundly deficient at the cellular level where it actually matters. This disconnect between what the blood test shows and what's actually happening inside your cells is one of the most significant blind spots in routine medical care. And it means millions of Americans are walking around with a deficiency that's silently undermining their energy, their sleep, their mood, their bones, their heart health, and their body's ability to repair its own DNA, and neither they nor their doctors have any idea. Let's start with what magnesium actually does inside your cells, because understanding the scope of its involvement is the key to understanding why deficiency causes so many seemingly unrelated problems. According to the National Institutes of Health, magnesium serves as a cofactor, essentially a required helper molecule, in more than 300 enzyme systems that regulate biochemical reactions throughout the body. And recent research suggests the actual number may be closer to 600 when you include enzymes that use magnesium as an activator rather than a structural component. These reactions aren't obscure or marginal. They include protein synthesis, muscle and nerve function, blood sugar regulation, blood pressure control, and the production of glutathione, this master antioxidant we've discussed in several of our previous videos. But the single most important role magnesium plays, and the one that connects to virtually every symptom of deficiency, is in energy production. Every molecule of ATP that your cells produce, and ATP is the universal energy currency of life, must be bound to a magnesium ion to be biologically active. Without magnesium attached to it, ATP is just an inert chemical sitting uselessly inside the cell. This means that every heartbeat, every nerve impulse, every muscle contraction, every thought your brain processes, and every repair job your body undertakes, all of it depends on magnesium-bound ATP. When magnesium levels fall even slightly below optimal, every single one of these processes runs less efficiently, and the symptoms that result, fatigue, muscle cramps, brain fog, insomnia, anxiety, heart palpitations, are not separate problems with separate causes. They are all downstream consequences of cells that don't have enough magnesium to power their most basic operations. The DNA connection is the one that most people have never heard, and it may be the most important of all. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition by researchers at the University of South Australia found something that should concern every adult in this country. Low magnesium levels in otherwise healthy people were associated with significantly higher rates of DNA damage, specifically higher frequencies of micronuclei and nucleoplasmic bridges, which are direct markers of chromosomal breakage and failed DNA repair. The researchers reported that this was the first study to demonstrate a clear correlation between magnesium intake and genomic integrity in living humans, confirming what laboratory studies had already suggested, that magnesium is not just a passive participant in DNA maintenance, but an active, essential cofactor for the repair enzymes that scan your chromosomes for damage and fix breaks before they can become mutations. When magnesium is deficient, those repair enzymes lose their structural stability and their catalytic efficiency drops, which means DNA damage accumulates faster, repair falls behind, and the risk of the kind of unrepaired mutations that lead to cancer and age-related disease increases, not because of some exotic environmental exposure, but simply because the body doesn't have enough of a common mineral to maintain the integrity of its own genetic code. A separate review published in the journal Antioxidants in 2025 confirmed that magnesium deficiency leads to elevated oxidative stress and DNA fragmentation. And that magnesium repletion, like simply restoring normal levels, reverse these effects and reduce markers of cellular damage. So who's deficient and why is the number so staggeringly high? The answer comes down to three converging factors that have been building for decades, and that together have created a perfect storm of mineral depletion in the American population. First, the magnesium content of our food supply has been declining steadily because modern industrial agriculture has prioritized yield over mineral density, depleting the soil of magnesium and other trace minerals through intensive farming practices that don't allow adequate replenishment between growing seasons, meaning that even people who eat plenty of theoretically magnesium-rich foods like spinach and whole grains are getting measurably less magnesium per serving than their grandparents did from the exact same foods grown in the same regions. Second, the standard American diet has shifted dramatically toward processed and refined foods that have had most of their natural magnesium stripped away during manufacturing, and refining whole wheat into white flour removes approximately 80% of the magnesium, polishing brown rice into white rice removes roughly 83%, and the conversion of whole food ingredients into packaged, shelf-stable products systematically eliminates the mineral content that the original food provided. The average American now gets the majority of their daily calories from foods that deliver almost no magnesium, which means even people who are eating enough calories may be eating almost no magnesium. And third, chronic psychological and physiological stress, which is effectively endemic in modern American life, actively depletes magnesium through increased urinary excretion, creating a vicious cycle where deficiency raises cortisol and anxiety, which causes the body to excrete even more magnesium through the kidneys, which deepens the deficiency further, which elevates stress even more. This feedback loop can accelerate rapidly during periods of high stress, illness, or poor sleep, leaving people progressively more depleted without any obvious external cause. Certain medications make the problem even worse. Proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux, commonly prescribed diuretics for blood pressure, and metformin for diabetes all increase magnesium loss through the kidneys, meaning that people who are already at higher health risk due to age and chronic conditions are the same people whose medications are quietly draining one of the minerals they need most. Now, let me walk you through the symptoms because this is where most people start recognizing themselves. Muscle cramps and spasms, particularly in the calves, feet, and eyelids, are among the earliest and most recognizable signs because magnesium is essential for muscle relaxation after contraction. And without enough of it, muscles get stuck in a contracted state and fire involuntarily at the slightest provocation. Many people dismiss these cramps as dehydration or overexertion, but if they're happening regularly, magnesium deficiency should be at the top of the suspect list. Chronic fatigue that doesn't improve no matter how much sleep you get, because every cell in your body is producing ATP at reduced capacity when magnesium is low. It's not that you're lazy or that something is psychologically wrong. It's that the fundamental energy currency of your biology is being minted at half speed. Difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep because magnesium activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest branch that's supposed to take over when you lie down at night. And without enough of it, the body stays stuck in a state of sympathetic hyperarousal that makes deep restorative sleep nearly impossible, no matter how dark the room is or how many sleep hygiene rules you follow. Many people who have struggled with insomnia for years discover that a simple magnesium supplement before bed gives them the best sleep they've had in decades. Not because magnesium is a sedative, but because it corrects the underlying mineral deficit that was preventing their nervous system from downshifting into rest mode. Anxiety, irritability, and a persistent feeling of being on edge that doesn't match what's actually happening in your life, because magnesium helps regulate GABA, the brain's primary calming neurotransmitter, and without sufficient magnesium, GABA receptors don't function optimally, leaving the nervous system overexcited and underdampened. A 2024 systematic review confirmed that magnesium supplementation can benefit people with mild to moderate anxiety, providing a non-pharmaceutical option that addresses the root cause rather than masking the symptom. Heart palpitations, skipped beats, or a racing pulse that seems to come from nowhere, because magnesium is critical for maintaining the electrical stability of cardiac muscle cells. It acts as a natural calcium channel blocker, preventing the calcium flooding that triggers irregular heartbeats, and when levels drop too low, the heart's electrical conduction system becomes unstable. A systematic review published in the journal Open Heart made a compelling case that subclinical magnesium deficiency is a principal driver of cardiovascular disease and represents what the authors called a genuine public health crisis. Bone loss and increasing fracture risk that gets attributed to osteoporosis without anyone asking what caused the osteoporosis in the first place, because magnesium is required for proper calcium metabolism and bone mineralization, and without it, calcium supplementation may actually do more harm than good by depositing calcium in arteries and soft tissues rather than in bones. And persistent headaches or migraines, which the American Academy of Neurology considers significant enough to include magnesium in its evidence-based guidelines for migraine prevention. So, what do you actually do about this? The best dietary sources of magnesium are pumpkin seeds, which contain a remarkable 150 milligrams per ounce, making them one of the most magnesium-dense foods on the planet, followed by dark chocolate with 70% or higher cocoa content, almonds, spinach, cashews, avocados, black beans, and whole grains. A handful of pumpkin seeds and a square of dark chocolate daily can go a surprisingly long way toward closing the gap. For supplementation, the form matters enormously, and this is where most people make a costly mistake, because different magnesium compounds are absorbed at vastly different rates and have meaningfully different effects in the body depending on what the magnesium is chemically bound to. Magnesium glycinate is the best tolerated form for most people and is particularly effective for improving sleep quality and reducing anxiety, because the glycine molecule it's bound to is itself a calming neurotransmitter that works synergistically with the magnesium to promote nervous system relaxation. Magnesium citrate has strong intestinal absorption and is the form most commonly used in cardiovascular and metabolic research. It's also excellent for anyone dealing with constipation as a secondary benefit. Magnesium L-threonate is the only form that has been shown in published research from MIT to effectively cross the blood-brain barrier and increase magnesium concentrations in the brain, making it the preferred choice for cognitive function, memory support, and neuroprotection in older adults. And magnesium oxide, which is the cheapest form and the one you'll most commonly find in drugstore brands, has the poorest absorption rate of all, with some estimates as low as 4%, meaning that a 500 milligram magnesium oxide tablet may deliver as little as 20 milligrams of actual usable magnesium to your cells. A daily dose of 200 to 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium from a well-absorbed form, taken with dinner or before bed, is the range most commonly recommended by integrative and functional medicine practitioners, and many people report noticeable improvements in sleep quality, muscle tension, anxiety levels, and overall energy within the first 1 to 2 weeks of consistent supplementation. For anyone already taking calcium or vitamin D supplements, adding magnesium is particularly important because all three minerals work together in a coordinated system, and supplementing calcium and D without adequate magnesium can actually worsen the imbalances that lead to arterial calcification and bone loss. Here's what I want you to take from this. Magnesium isn't a trendy supplement, and it isn't a luxury. It is a biological necessity that 3/4 of the American population isn't getting enough of. And the consequences of that deficiency touch every major system in your body, from your DNA's ability to repair itself, to your heart's ability to beat steadily, to your brain's ability to find calm at the end of the day. The standard blood test your doctor runs almost certainly isn't catching the problem, and the symptoms it produces are so varied and so easily attributed to aging or stress that most people never connect them to a single correctable mineral deficiency. Ask your doctor about a red blood cell magnesium test rather than a serum test. It measures magnesium inside the cells where it actually works and gives a far more accurate picture of your true status. Start adding magnesium-rich foods to your daily diet. And consider a well-absorbed supplement in the glycinate, citrate, or threonate form if your intake isn't meeting the recommended 400 milligrams per day. This is one of the simplest, cheapest, and most impactful changes you can make for your health. And the fact that most doctors never bring it up is exactly why I'm bringing it up now. Share this with someone who needs it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Share this with someone who needs it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And as always, take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.